Hey everybody. It was probably about 12 years ago this summer that I was working on my dissertation for my second master's degree. And in that work, I was trying to figure out the relationship between Jesus, his ministry. I was trying to work out some kind of understanding of our Christology as it relates to particularly concern for the poor. And one of the things that I was wrestling with, one of the things that came out of that work was this idea that Jesus is an itinerant, that he never quite stayed in one place through the course of his life. Well, on the one hand, you had this constant movement. He was never really in one part of the world more than a few weeks at a time. But on the other hand, he stayed right there in a small geography of Palestine. So there's some sort of paradox there, that he was at once fully committed and stayed, and yet was always on the move and always going. It's interesting that lately I've been thinking a lot about that again. What it means to actually follow Jesus, what it means to belong to him, to be his people. At least in part, it means to move. It means to follow him. And we don't, in one sense, we shouldn't maybe even stay put. There's some sort of model there to what it means to belong to him, to follow him. He still wants us to keep moving all the time. And yet, to remain paradoxically committed to one place, to both go and to stay. So obviously what's been on my mind lately is trying to figure out what's next for us. We're coming to the end of our lease in Ybor City, and the deep question, aside from the contracts and the money and the logistics, the deep question is, should we stay? Are we supposed to stay longer in Ybor, more than the 10 years that we've been there? And the more things have unfolded, the more we've discerned God's voice, the more it seems that we should go, that we're supposed to actually move to some other place in the city, maybe in part to remember who we are and whose we are, that we are still, even as a movement, just following Jesus, but also to show maybe our commitment, our deep, abiding commitment to the whole city, not just one place, not just serving one geography or one community. And maybe that's part of why Jesus moved. He could not be pinned down, and yet he didn't want to see the whole world either. I feel a little bit of that resurfacing as we make our plans going forward. And if you're seeing this, it's because I've just finally signed a contract to take possession of about 20,000 square feet behind me. And so this will become our front entrance to what will be our new, slightly expanded co-working space. But I wanted to be here maybe today, this morning, to say that we have good news, that we're not homeless, we're not going to be homeless, and yet even if we were, there's something important in that too. It's been a healthy reminder for me, and I think for our whole community, that we're not defined. Our identity is not in any physical location or any physical structure, but it's in the embodiment of an ideal. We are and we remain an underground movement. We are and we remain a movement of God's people through the embodiment of our ideals, not any one place. And maybe we need to be reminded of that. Maybe moving keeps us grounded in that truth, that reality. And so here we are again, moving, showing our concern and love for a new part of the city, which our hearts are starting to open up to. And even as we try to discern, Lord, what do you want here? Looking for people of peace and understand our place in this new part of the city, but still remaining committed to all of our microchurches and all of our places where we already are. So you'll be hearing more in the coming days of things that we need, but there are three basic things I wanted to ask for your help with. The first is we need money. A move like this, building out something like this, is going to cost us money. And so I need everyone to consider giving something toward that. I think we can do this whole build out of two massive spaces for about $150,000, which of course is great, but it's still a lot of money for us. So there's going to be a way. You're going to hear more in the coming days of how to give and where to give. Please pray and consider doing that. The second is the move itself. We're going to need to move all of our stuff from one place to another. And so we have a little system we're trying to set up where people would agree to give 2 hours, just a 2-hour block. We don't want you to kill yourself, but if everyone pitches in, many hands make light work. If everyone pitches in, it should be no problem to move the old hub to this new location. And then the third thing, which is actually really important, the more I sort of dive into all the logistics, the more I'm feeling this deep, profound need for prayer. And personally, I think that the greater challenges are not so much these logistical things, and that's hard enough, but it's how will we enter into, how will we come and incarnate in a new place fully? And what is God doing? What does he want from us? What is he opening up? What opportunities will be here? What is his Spirit doing and saying through this move? And every microchurch should be asking that question. So we're actually going to ask you as microchurch leaders and you as smaller communities to take maybe one day. I would love to see morning prayer and evening prayer almost every single day in the month of July. If we just dedicate the month of July to petitioning God, opening our hearts, listening, and praying for his favor in this really straining kind of stretching move. And so I'm asking that every microchurch leader and every microchurch would consider taking at least one of those time slots, a morning or an evening in the month of July. And you'll see more and you'll hear more about that too. Anyway, I love you guys. I just wanted to be here, and if I haven't been able to tell you personally, and if you haven't heard this, I just wanted to hear from me that we have good news. God has opened new doors in North Tampa, in the university area. More to come.